So the idea of having, multi-generational partnerships. See, the problem is that one of our big problems is that the average farmer is now almost 60 years old. Now, if you read any business book, it will tell you that anytime an economic sector has the average practitioner age drop below 35, that is an economic sector in decline. That's like a business principle, okay? Well, it's been a long time since the average farmer's been 35, okay? The fact is that when young people can't get in, old people can't get out. Ever think about that? If young people can't get in, old people can't get out. So one of the ways to create successional regenerative farms is this messing up the camera? Am I getting too close here? I like to get close to people. I like to, hug people, touch people, all that sort of thing. All right. So one of the issues is how do we create multi-generational things? Because there's a lot of wisdom and experience tied up in these 60-year-old hermit curmudgeons. How do we get it out? But when I talk to 60-year-old hermit curmudgeon farmers, the idea of being followed around by a young person, I mean, it's like, just put me in a Chinese torture chamber, right? And so, I run into both kinds. I run into the both extremes. And so I look at these elderly farmers, as they hit their late 40s. That's about the time when you start waking up and realizing you're not immortal. And like my people, I heard a guy my age the other day say, I've just learned that, if I get up in the morning, if it ain't hurting, it ain't working, And you do start realizing your mortality. Well, at that point, look in the mirror and tell yourself, eye to eye, I really want to grow old alone. Now, I'm sure there are some really hardcore hermit curmudgeon farmers who actually really believe that, but not most. Most of them would cherish the idea of having a young partner as they hit 60, 70, and 80 years old. In fact, that's the way wealth has been accumulated tribally throughout the history of humankind. How do you accumulate wealth? How does a tribe accumulate wealth? They leverage the matriarchal, patriarchal wisdom on youthful, enthusiastic energy. Because as you get older, you become more and more scared of innovating. Because innovation is expensive. Innovation takes effort. When throwing, if the idea is let's find out what substance sticks against that wall, I'm not going to be the one that throws it. I want a bunch of you young people that don't get tennis elbows by throwing stuff. I'm going to give you the bucketfuls of stuff to throw against that wall, and I'm going to watch it. Whichever one of you has something that sticks, then that's where I'm going to start throwing. See, that's the way experience works. So how do we create multi-generational partnerships so that we can leverage the equity from the old people, equity both in information and capital? Because right now, 50%, at least in the U.S., in the next 15 years, 50% of America's agriculture equity is going to change hands. Think about that. In the next 15 years, 50% of agricultural equity is going to change hands. We have never been here before. This is unprecedented. Okay? We've never had this level of elderly ownership in agriculture. So how do we create partnerships, formal or informal, in which we can actually bring a young partner in. The typical idea for all business is employees. We just employ somebody. Employment has a lot of problems. Okay? If you employ somebody by the hour, a wage will pay you $12 an hour, all right? That has a real problem because then it sets up arguments between the owner and the employee. The owner thinks that you're not putting in 12 hours worth of work all the time. What are you standing around the water cooler jabbering about? I'm paying you to answer the phone or work, right? And the worker, of course, thinks that he's being taken advantage of. Man, I'm working my buns off for you and you don't appreciate it. I should have a raise. And so one of the reasons we have so many labor management disputes is, I think, because we have not been very innovative or creative at figuring out how to set up win-win partnerships where there's shared risk and shared incentive. So, I don't like employees. I don't like hourly wage. I like salaries and commissions, piecework, and fiefdoms. So let me explain kind of some of the things that have come up here. When Daniel and Sherry got married, the daughter-in-law is always the problem in a family farm, right? I mean, she didn't grow up doing it this way. A bunch of harebrained ideas. She doesn't understand that it can't be done because we tried it 10 years ago. See, and so she's looking for a place, and she tells the story beautifully and great. So I'm doing a terrible job of telling her story, but I'm paraphrasing it here to get through. And she's looking for a place. And so she looks at the buying clubs thing. Now, this was something that we had launched about 4 years previously. And when we launched it, it was a couple of people that had come down to the farm from up in Maryland, 4 hours away, and wanted our stuff, but wanted us to deliver it to them. Well, I didn't want to deliver. I don't want to go to the city. Every time I go to the city, I'm looking for how to get out of it. So I didn't want to go beat the pavement. But as Daniel says, my son, when we do this, actually the three of us did a fiefdoms tour through Australia this spring. It was just delightful to have son, daughter-in-law, and me. And we toured Australia for 2 weeks, put on these fiefdom seminars. And what Daniel says, he has a great way of saying it. He says, you know the thing that keeps you in bed in the morning that I don't want to face today because I'm dreading this? Did you know that there is somebody in your community that can't wait to get up in the morning to do that thing? Balance a checkbook. Call a bureaucrat. I mean, there is somebody that loves that. Right? I'm not making this up. We have now hired a part-time compliance person who loves to call bureaucrats and fill out paperwork. Do you know what a burden that takes off of me? I'm a type A choleric, make the chips fly, cut the tree, ask if we should have cut it later, let's go get something done, right? I want to grow things, I want to produce things. I want to sit there on the line, punch 5, punch 3, talking to robots and trying to get. But this guy loves it. See? And so I'm convinced that all of us can get where we want to go faster if we collaborate and partner with people who fit, not who are like us, but people who fit with us. I mean, think about a bolt and a nut. They don't don't look anything alike, but there's a fit, right? There's a fit. All right, so Sherry comes in. She says, "How can I find a spot in here?" Well, we didn't know. She said, "I can market. I'll take over the buying clubs. I will take these things to another level." We had about 30 customers in the buying club, and she said, "I can take these things to another level." Well, maybe she can. Maybe she can't. So we didn't want to put her on payroll. What if she flunked? What if she couldn't market? We're paying her, $15,000 a year as a part-time, right, to do this marketing, and it ain't happening. And she had enough confidence in her ability to say, "That's fine, put me on a commission. Just put me on a commission. No guarantee whatsoever. Put me on a 3% sales commission. That's plenty." Well, guess what? Here we are, 10 years later. She's taken this to a $700,000 a year deal and gets a passive income of $21,000 with a commission-based income. People say, "Wow, Lance, she keeps going. She's going to make more than you." I love it. See, this is not about scarcity. It's about plenty. It's about abundance. The glass is not half empty. It's half full. Okay? And so by releasing her to her own fiefdom, it put all the responsibility of creating her income on her, which she fortunately had enough confidence to take with no guarantee, and it freed us from the risk of her underperformance. Okay? So the idea of developing fiefdoms is to actually figure out a way to take all these jobs that you don't want to do, that you don't like to do, and carve out an autonomous, self-authorized, self-responsibility, shared risk way to get that done. So our delivery, we have 2 delivery trucks, and we deliver to make a lot of deliveries, okay? But when we started, I knew I didn't want to be the delivery guy. I like to be on a farm. I don't want to be out pounding the pavement in town. And so what we did was create a delivery per pound rate. Now all the chefs hate this. They call it. They've all got some exotic accent because they're trained in the Calais and the Swiss Alps. What is this delivery charge? Cisco doesn't do this. U.S. food service. Oh yeah, they do. They just embed it. You don't see it. So the answer is, we want you to understand what it costs for us to get it to you. What we want is you to be the smartest, most informed chef in the area. We don't want ignorant chefs. Polyface is in the information business, not the ignorance business. That's what the industrial food system wants. They don't want you to know anything. I want you to know. You get about this point in the explanation, he says, "Oh, that'll be fine. Just put it on this institute." Well, down with love. Okay? And so when we did this, we put on this delivery charge, and it was one of those best things we've ever done because it allowed us to move seamlessly from salary to employee to subcontractor, however we wanted to do it, because now we have a standalone enterprise. So what I want you to think about is how can you take your farm situation and create standalone enterprises. If you're running, for example, beef cattle, we have a couple that interned with us. They went out to California, where, as you know, land is up the wazoo crazy expensive. And what they found was a ranch out there that was doing grass-finished beef sales. They were desperate for another enterprise to get more customers, to have more items to sell from the ranch. But yeah, this was a couple that was in their late 50s, and they just didn't want to go gut chickens. And so they looked around, and this couple that had interned with us went out and started a pastured poultry enterprise on the land, no rent, No mortgage, no nothing. In 3 years, they've already got 2 partners, collaborators with them, creating 3 salaries out of a 3-year-old startup pasture poultry enterprise. They were able to leverage the market in beef that the elderly couple already had, and all of their their local equity. Their local, they pay their bills. They're well liked. They're members of the Rotary Club. All of these. The thing is, elderly people, if they're not shysters and they're not in jail, elderly people bring to the table a lot of emotional and community equity. They know people. Okay? They know people. The young person comes in, well, the bank's not going to loan you any money. I mean, you're an untried, I wouldn't loan you a plug nickel, right? I want you to go out and prove something for me, see? And that's the problem with young people. How many jobs are there? 2 years of experience. How am I supposed to get experience if I don't get a job? How do I get, you have this catch-22 thing. So how do you start? And so by coming in under the ranch, they were able to tap in to the already existing ranch equity connections, schmoozes and arm-shake agreements and all the relationships that have been cultivated over a lifetime. And in just 3 years, boom, they're up and running with a fully, successful. They were able to make a full-time salary the very first year they started their pasture poultry, because they already had a great big built-in customer base, and they had no money. What does the ranch get out of it? Well, the ranch has suddenly seen their sales for beef double, because now people can get in with chickens, which are really, small amounts. For 20 bucks, you can get in as a customer. Oh, chicken's so good, let's try the beef. And so suddenly they're seeing their sales, double because of the synergistic effect of the two. But by the young couple not coming in as employees of the ranch to grow chickens, it completely changed the risk sharing and the incentivization possibility for the young couple. Now they don't have to sit down and argue over, you're not paying me. Look, I just brought all this, market and opportunity to the ranch, and you're just paying me, like a farmhand? Come on, get what you see. You don't have to have any of those arguments. So it's really very freeing because it's personally validating. And that's what we're desperate for in our business partnerships. If you want a sustainable business partnership, I'm a lover of sustainable agriculture, but I think maybe sometimes we miss sometimes not talking about sustainable business practices. That's a kind of, like I said, ugly cousin, isn't it? Because a lot of people, those of us who come to sustainable ag, we come from an ecological, and earth-friendly background where capitalism and profit and money are like, taboos. We don't talk about those things. We do this because it's nice, healing, earthy. Woo! And when you start talking about hardcore business like this, it's a little bit dicey. But is everybody with me on the self-validation? You see the difference. And so, when we did the delivery, we've been through employees, salary, subcontractors. Right now, we have a hybrid. Our delivery guy, Richard, Big Richard, he's our delivery guy. And you know what? Richard, he's got his earbuds, he's got books on tape. I've never heard of books on tape. I don't even know how to turn on an earbud, okay? So, but he does, all right? And he puts these things in, and man, he likes nothing better than to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, drive out. We we get him loaded up. He's out of there by 6 o'clock, heading to the big city, 3 hours away. And he's just in nirvana. Just driving along, listening to whatever. And I would rather you take, pliers and pull my fingernails out. But he loves it, thrives on it. Okay? So he has a base salary, but if his annual pounds of product that he handles goes to a certain benchmark, then we share 50-50 on that all the way up. So he can create his own salary increases. This makes sure that he smiles and he's friendly to customers, because he doesn't want to lose a customer, all right? And he's looking for new customers. Hey, I drove in, there's a new restaurant over, so-and-so. And so he's constantly trying to increase sales, to increase his poundage. So he's incentivized to increase poundage. Some people say, well, he's the highest paid guy on the farm. He earns more than I do. You know what? That's wonderful. I hope he earns twice as much as I do. Because that means he's moving product. So, and he's taking care of people. He's not acting unconcerned about their concerns. This one's wrong or that was wrong or whatever. He's careful. So that's great. All right. So a couple of years ago, one of our interns wanted to stay on the farm, and so our question to these interns who want to stay is, okay, so how are you going to earn a living? The idea then is that rather than us trying to have only our narrow focused vision for the farm, instead we simply see ourselves as a germination tray for young people to bring their own ideas and create their own salaries. I'm not responsible for providing a young person a job. I'm simply responsible for providing an incubation tray where they can incubate and germinate, sprout their own business, all right, their own idea, their own fiefdom. And so Dan came to us and he said, I heard you talking about an on-farm, chef and horticulture. And he said, and I like to grow mushrooms. We never grown mushrooms before. We've got lots of woods, lots of trees. We service 50 restaurants. It's a natural fit, right? Grow shiitake mushrooms. Got plenty of places for it. And so we carved out a fiefdom for him to become the farm cook, take over all the horticulture in the gardens, and raise these shiitake mushrooms. So he got a salary for being the cook. So that was a kind of a guaranteed benchmark, but then all the horticulture and the mushrooms were completely his baby. If there didn't have a crop, he didn't get any money. And if he did really well, and if he grew more than he could sell, he had to eat them or feed them to the pigs or do whatever. We didn't guarantee any market, all right? Now, we could tap into our market base, which was a tremendous asset, but we didn't guarantee a market. Are you with me? So he did, and he was there a couple of years, and then he's gone on to run his own catering business in Wisconsin and doing great things, great stuff. But it provided him a 2-year incubation period, germination, get his feet wet, build his self-confidence, do these kinds of things. Okay, let's see. Let's go to Jonathan. Okay, so Jonathan wanted to stay. A year ago, he was an apprentice. Apprentices come out of the intern. So you have an intern for 4 months, then apprentice if you want, and then 12 months, and then whatever. And so Jonathan wanted to stay after his apprenticeship. We said, well, Jonathan, what do you want to do? He said, well, I really want to be a shop foreman. I want to take over your shop. Now, Daniel and I have always done the shop work, but we don't really like it. I mean, I weld and do torch work and fabrication and stuff, but it's not my cup of tea. I'm not good at it. I get it done. I can peck away and make a weld hole, but it doesn't. It's not beautiful, like a factory, like a technician. The chick. If you want to just brood chicks but not raise the chickens, if you want to build a brooder and just brood chicks, we'll pay you to brood chicks for 3 weeks. We'll take them and put them in the field and move the shelters, and you can start another batch of chicks in your brooder, and you don't have to raise any chickens. So we've even separated that much out to let you do different. How do you do that? You do it with time and motion studies. Time and motion studies. Now, I can just see some of the farmers' eyes go, what? Time and motion? I'm going to tell you something. We farmers, I are one. I mean, if you look at my hands, look at those calluses. There's this callus. There's the callus. Okay. We farmers, we grow up. We drink the Kool-Aid of the world owes me a living. I'm so important. If it wasn't for me, the world would starve. And we've got this little kind of holy idea about ourselves that we're way more important than you know, the guy that's drilling for oil so we can have diesel for our tractor, or the guy that builds the laptop so we can keep in touch with our customers. We're far more important than that. We're farmers. No farmers, no food, we put on our, bumper stickers. And we walk around with this kind of sacrosanct idea that the world owes us a living, and as a business, we're special. I'm special. I'm not like all other business. They have to adhere to Wall Street requirements. They have to deal with investments and return on investments, and gross margins, and, adjusted gross margins, and overheads, and all these. What's this about business? I'm a farmer. I feed the world. I'm not a business. What is this? Condescending, making farmers out to be some sort of a loaded business. And that's the way we react to the disrespect that farmers get in the world, right? I'm tired actually of being, told that I'm just a dumb farmer. And the dumb farmer kind of goes together. Of course, farmers don't help themselves. They walk around with their snuff, and they don't breathe any quick, they don't go anywhere, and they just breathe their full here, and look at me, I'm a farmer. I don't have to do nothing. I just go out and look at the cows and drive the tractor. So we don't have to. I tell farmers, look, go to the thrift store, get a suit, get a couple books for your toilet reading and shelf. Even if you don't read them, get a couple books made to look like you got anything in the world. I'm a big believer in the Jeffersonian intellectual agrarian. What's wrong with an intellectual agrarian? I was in customs yesterday. I come through customs, and they got that last one on the form, says, have you come from or are you going to a farm? Actually, it says, have you come from and are going to a farm? It's and, okay? And so I put no. Well, when the customs lady asked me what I was doing and what I did for a living, she saw my hand. She said, are you a farmer? I said, yes, I am a farmer. And she said, well, did you just come from a farm? I said, yes. But I also know grammar, and it's and, not or. No, you know what she said? She said, I had never thought of that before. She said, you're exactly right. The hardest time I ever had at customs was going the other way back home. And the U.S. customs guy said, what were you doing here? And I said, I was speaking at a farm. He said, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm a farmer. He was about to send me into the little back room back there. He said, since when do farmers go around making speeches to you? Now that's normal. See? That's normal. So how do we farmers, hold our heads high and act, with respect? Well, what we do is we feed ourselves this Kool-Aid dose of I'm special. See, and I'm more than a business, and the world owes me because I'm feeding. What is that? A gingerbread cookie? Oh wow! It's not even Christmas yet. Oh, it's Halloween. It's an owl. Okay. So, let's see, where was I? I was on time and ocean studies, all right? Here's the deal, folks. We farmers are not immune from the realities of business. Do you read Elliot Coleman's book, Jean-Martin Poirier out here? You read there, you can ask them, what's your net return on 2 feet of radishes? Boom, they got it. Okay? We need to run our farms like that. How many minutes does it take to put away a dozen eggs? What's your benchmark? What's your farm benchmark for putting away a dozen eggs? And if you can't give it to me, you're not acting like a business person. Because trust me, All industry answers those kind of questions. They have a whole, a plethora of experts, of pencil pushers and calculator people that go around. McDonald's has a kitchen. A guy, one of their executives came. He was their attorney on retainer from D.C. And about 10 years ago, he came down to see us because McDonald's was talking about doing a grass-fed burger. Can you imagine McDonald's having a grass-fed burger? And the executive sent him down to see me to find out if I would bite their heads off if they came down. And so we're talking, and he tells me, he says, we have a kitchen at headquarters with a whole staff of 50 people, and all the furniture, the cookers, the counters, tables, trash cans, every single thing that we have in a regular McDonald's store is on wheels in this kitchen. And all they do, all day, every day, this whole, restaurant crew people, all they do is look at moving things an inch, 2 inches, changing order, inverting, all right, making a straight line or an arc or whatever configuration. He said if we could shave half of a second off of a procedure, half of a second, it's worth $10 million a year. Let me tell you what, we farmers have a ways to go to get there. All right? But we have established a benchmark. 1 minute per poultry shelter. That's our SOP. That's our benchmark. And we want our interns to walk around with a watch or a stopwatch or use their smartphone or whatever and time themselves. They got to move 10 shelters. Did it take 10 minutes or 10 and a half minutes? Or 15 minutes? And we want them to understand these. Look, this isn't games, folks. When you're in business, and the taxes have to be paid, and the spouse has to get taken to dinner once in a while. This isn't just playing around, with I'm spiritual. We've got to be business people. Okay, that's not all that we are, but it's a part, and we can't spurn those business aspects. How long does it take to make a bale of hay? Anyway, you get where I'm saying. Time motion studies. So that's how we've arrived at all these little segments of what we do and the value of each of these segments. Once you get the value of those different segments, then you can part them out, if you will, to collaborators and create valid, credible MOUs for anything you're doing. All right? And that allows you to identify, here's what, the question each one of us needs to ask is, tomorrow morning, if time or money were not an issue in your life, tomorrow morning, time or money is not an issue, what would you do? When you answer that question, you will find your God-given passion, okay? And our lives then need to be focused around how do I spend more time doing that and less time doing the thing that I really don't want to do, okay? Because the thing that wells up from the passion of our soul is what we've been created to do. It's not like God and us are at loggerheads in this. It's we are who we are. Our temperament, our character, all that. And so what would you do tomorrow if time and money were not an issue? Now, how do you make that happen? And I'm going to go to questions now because I could talk about this all day. I get really excited about enabling young people. So now our farm, rather than being the simplistic farm of my ideas, instead now it gets to morph into an embrace of the passions, the heart, the gifts of all these young people. So I walk out the front door in the morning, and there's activity, and there's energy, there's enthusiasm, because I'm surrounded by functional fiefdoms from youthful enthusiasm. And I submit that that's a way to grow old and not be a hermit curmudgeon as you get older. I'm going to stop right there because I know this has stimulated some questions. I'm only 15 minutes before lunch. And let me just deal with some questions. I'm sure there are some things that are on your mind after getting a drink of water. Okay, yes?
Well, I support your position of time and motion studies and being able to do that. One of the challenges with that